Yes, people, what's going on? Welcome to Flex's View. And I tell you what, this is a big, big claim from Samuel Luckhurst from the Manchester Evening News that we saw earlier this morning, as he claims that Sir Jim Ratcliffe is not sold on Erik ten Hag. Let me just get the quote that he says. He says, a well-placed source said Ratcliffe is not completely sold on Ten Hag, who presided over United's 10th Premier League defeat of the season at Fulham on Saturday. Figures at United, except there is noise, the noises I'm hearing, except that there is noise around Ten Hag's position, but maintain the club can still enjoy a successful season should they win the FA Cup and finish fourth. That latter bit is lip service. We ain't going to get top four. Yeah, like I said, I know I can't talk in absolutes, but my opinion is that, you know, we'll lose against City, Villa will beat Luton, and then we'll be back to, well, what we didn't want to happen the other week when we played Villa, to go 11 points behind them in the hunt for top four, because it's too much. And I believe that's what will probably happen. And obviously, the sources are going to say, look, if we win the FA Cup and get fourth, then it's great. But that would also be a significant turnaround of the way we're playing, because to win the FA Cup and to get fourth, we're going to have to do some serious shit differently. And we ain't going to do it. What's also really interesting about this piece from Samuel Luckhurst is that he says that Roberto De Zerbi is of interest. For those of you that watch DR Sports a lot, you know my feelings on De Zerbi. I kind of get onto him a little bit, De Zerbi hype. And look, he does play a certain way of football, but the Potter thing, you know, he was playing good football there, went to Chelsea, and look, it crumbled. And I just think, you know, when Brighton go on bad runs and get opened up and don't play too well, no one really talks about it a lot because rightly so, it's Brighton and they're overachieving. Make that be Man United, I think, is a different story. But would I prefer Erik ten Hag to De Zerbi, or would I prefer De Zerbi to Ten Hag? I'm not sure De Zerbi's the one. I'm not sure De Zerbi's the one. But tactically, you can see how his team wants to play. Stylistically, you can see how his team wants to play. So those types of things would make sense. But I think forget Park De Zerbi a bit. I think the bigger thing here is the fact that we're hearing from Samuel Luckhurst, who is, you know, he's been banned once already for talking shit in the papers, and you know, or what was perceived to be bullshit by the club and putting it out without response. So he's been slapped on the wrist already for doing things wrong. So he needs to be very careful what he writes. And for someone in his position, who is obviously the chief correspondent, I believe, or for Man United for the MEN, you know, very in with the club, like for him to say that, it's got to come from somewhere. And for him to do that and go and ask the club for comment, and he's putting in his piece that, you know, sources say that, you know, they've looked at potential replacement. And he said a well-placed source said Ratcliffe is not completely sold on him. And that goes back to what Jim Ratcliffe said when he was refused to be drawn in about Erik ten Hag's future. He kind of, you know, I took it as that he's backing him. Really, I did. I'll be honest. And a lot of people were like, no, he didn't back him. He was just saying that, you know, we have to look at the organisation more than the individual. And I saw that as damn right. He's looking at all the managers that have gone before and failed. So why is he gonna just go in on Erik ten Hag? But then you see what's happening, and if the football's dross, which it is, if we don't get top four, which we probably won't, if we don't win the FA Cup, which we probably won't, and they're going to change all this stuff with Dan Ashworth, Omar Barada, you know, other people coming into the sporting project, it makes it easier for them to just say to Ten Hag, see you later. That's the facts. That's the facts. And I know a lot of people, and rightly so, I get it. On the morning show this morning, a lot of people say, no, you know, don't let these players get away with it. You know, let's do something different by keeping the manager and getting rid of the players. But this also, what I will push back as well, so this also, if they did get rid of Ten Hag, it wouldn't be doing something that we do all the time, because it's different. We'll be getting rid of the manager, but changing everything. Not just get rid of the manager and keep the same players, because the players are going to go. We've already been through some of the list of the things that need to happen for the players to stay and the players that need to leave. This would literally be changing everything. And it's much easier to change this now than to procrastinate and change a little bit here and a little bit there. And then obviously you got Gary Neville saying what he said. It's very weird that off the back of what Gary Neville said as well, and I'm just trying to marry stuff together, it could be off the mark. But Gary Neville says what he says on Monday Night Football last night. And then you get Samuel Luckhurst today saying, tell you what, mate, I've been told by well-placed sources that Sir Jim's not even quite sold on Erik ten Hag. The quote is, let me stick to the facts, the quote is, not completely sold. And really though, let's be honest, even for the most staunch people behind Ten Hag who are saying, listen, anyone who thinks it's the manager is clueless, etc., etc., even somebody who thinks that, even they have to say, well, you can see why they're going to come in and go, tell you what, it's very damning what Jamie Carragher said yesterday and how we said it and how we play. And even if you take out him saying it, we can all see it with our eyes, what's wrong with our team. You know, and one thing is not having the players to do it, but you can't just blindly go, but it's okay to play the way we're playing. It's inexcusable the way we're playing. Like the lack of tactical awareness is alarming. I will say that. It is alarming. How we can see on a Monday Night Football broken down by Jamie Carragher the big holes in what we're doing, but Ten Hag can't see it. And as the game went on, couldn't change it. And it's not the first time we've been overrun in midfield. Look at all the shots we've been facing all season. It's been a common theme. That is alarming. Very, very alarming. And I don't think another manager would set us up like that. Even with the players that we've got, by the way. Even with what we've got. I'm not saying that Harry Maguire is good enough to do X, Y, Z. I'm not saying Luke Shaw's fit enough to play all the games. I'm not saying that McTominay's the saviour or Eriksen's got legs. And, you know, there are gaping things wrong. Like I said, we still won't be able to be a good football team with many of the players that we actually have because of the things they lack stylistically. But when you don't have them things, as the manager, you do have to find another way. We should be in a position where it's only the players we're looking at. Really, if Ten Hag was doing a good job or a good enough job, the question marks wouldn't be at his doorstep. We'd be saying, well, I can see the patterns and what we want to do, but it breaks down as soon as it gets to Maguire, or it breaks down as soon as it gets to Rashford. It breaks down as soon as we get to Bruno. But structurally, the way he's setting up the team, that's a problem. That's a big issue. And it's breaking down not just because of the lack of players that we have. It's breaking down because of the coaching. And that is something we have to be honest about. The reason why we are so open, the reason why we are facing so many shots is not just because Harry Maguire is rubbish. It's not just because Luke Shaw keeps getting injured. It's not just because, you know, Marcus Rashford can't be bothered to run or whatever. It's tactically the way we're set up and the spaces in midfield that aren't being reined in. And the way we're moving the ball is coaching is another reason why we're being outfoxed and why we're being outdone. And you know what? Guys, I'm not going to lie to you. This isn't... I think the question of are you Ten Hag in or Ten Hag out is just too... I just don't like those type of questions because it's always one or the other. And I understand why people get to that. But I think the questions are bigger than that. I think we changed the question. I think the question should be, are Ineos happy with this? And is it easier for Ineos to make a change now? Or sorry, at the end of the season? I think that should be the question. The question should be, is Erik Ten Hag doing enough even with what we've got? Those should be the questions rather. Are you Ten Hag in or out? Like, because those are the questions that actually substantiate that, are you Ten Hag or are you Ten Hag in or out? Because it's too easy just to go, get him out, he's a fraud. Or keep him because we have to keep Ten Hag because we don't want to make the same mistakes of the past. Well, making the same mistakes of the past would be not being ahead of the curve, right? Not making key decisions when we need to make them. And two, sticking with something that isn't working and hoping it's going to change. Then after that, changing the manager, but then not changing anything else. Well, by what we're seeing with Ineos, they're not going to do that. They're going to change everything. They're not just going to sack the manager and keep the players and keep the structure. That's not going to happen. So already we're into territory, guys, and this is coming from somebody who, you know, I want Ten Hag to be able to turn this around, but I just don't think he can. We're already into new territory of they're going to change things for the better. So we're in uncharted territory. We ain't going to see them sack Ten Hag and then all of a sudden all these players stay and Ed Woodward stayed and John Murtough stayed and Richard Arnold stayed. That's not going to happen. We can see that already. So now we have to get into our minds that it's okay if the manager leaves and we go in a whole different direction, even if you staunch Erik Ten Hag to stay. So very interesting from Samuel Luckhurst. We'll wait and see how this transpires. But, this is going to be the week from hell, I think. If we go out of the FA Cup and get beat off a City convincingly, which, let's be honest, can easily happen, what left is there? What left is there of the Ten Hag era? What left is there? Do you know what I mean? So we'll have to wait and see. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Get involved. What do you think about what Samuel Luckhurst has to say? What do you think about my opinion? Let me know what you feel. I think it's going to get worse from here, personally. Anyway, guys, see you on the next video. I'm out.